Hey, good morning, it's Owen, Bigland. This is the Inside Edge video blog. Time for another one of my blogs on location, location, location. The golden rule of real estate. Nothing has ever changed in Vancouver real estate over the last 75 years. Location should be first and foremost when you're buying a home. Now, these days in Vancouver, and I've blogged about it in the past, a lot of what I would call grade A locations were built on many years ago, decades ago in some cases. And the developers on some of the new projects have moved on to C, D, and in my opinion now, even E locations. And keep in mind, location is what is really going to make your unit or your home appreciate over time. Although I will say, you could buy pretty much any unit in Vancouver these days, or any city for that matter, no matter what kind of a dog it was. Buy it, hold it for 25 years, and you're going to make a fairly nice capital gain on it. However, if you did a little more due diligence, took your time, maybe paid up a little bit more, another 10 or 15% on your purchase price, and bought a little bit better location as far as the unit goes, both in the building and the location of the building itself, your appreciation over time will be much better. And if it's a investment unit, your tenancy turnover will be far better. So I'll give you an example here. This has to do with some of the newer developments that I've seen come online in the last year or so, and some of the ones that have just finished pre-selling that they're starting construction on. And several of these, I've blogged about them before, are shoehorned in between the on-ramp and off-ramp of a major bridge. The Granville Bridge, the Canby Bridge at the north end. You have to be careful here, folks, on some of these locations. I've toured a few of these buildings now, and they are not good. Not only from a standpoint of being on a bridge and it's busy and you've got exhaust fumes and traffic running, 20 hours out of the day and night, but by your window. But also the accessibility to get in and out of these complexes is incredibly difficult. And there was also an article just recently in the papers talking about pre-sales and how some locals seem to be priced out, or actually not even getting the opportunity to buy some of these pre-sale developments. They're all being sold offshore. And I gotta be honest, a few of these ones that sold last year or a couple of years ago, and they were all sold mostly offshore, in my opinion, let them have these units. They're not worth buying. I would really call some of these just flat out dogs. They're not worth buying at any price, in my opinion. But you see, in some cases, you almost have to sell these units to someone who's a not living in the city or sold off a brochure. Because once you see once these buildings are built and see the proximity to the bridges or the busy streets, or how inaccessible they are to get in and out of these buildings, once they're built, you don't find that until you get the keys and the building's actually built now. When you're buying them pre-sale, you have no idea. So I would say let a lot of these people from outside the city, or buying them off brochures, or offshore buyers buy these. In my opinion, there's just much better units out there. You may need to pay up a little bit more for them, but you will do far better on your appreciation over time. But you see, what a lot of these developments are built on are what is called a remnant lots. And a remnant is just like it sounds. It's just like a carpet layer. You buy 3,000 square feet of carpet for a house, and after they finish cutting up all the rooms, you're left with some fairly large pieces, or remnant pieces, that you can put in a closet or maybe cut up and make a doormat out of. Many of these developments that are sandwiched in these bridges are remnant lots. These are properties, parcels of land that were bought many decades ago, in some cases by developers, at a very reasonable price. For the reason being is that they're hugging up against a bridge, for God's sake. Many of them held these properties thinking, well, eventually I'll build maybe a rental building on here, or something a little bit lower end, price them at $300,000 for a one bedroom or something. But of course, the market has been on fire here, and the price per square foot now for the downtown Vancouver is running $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 and up per square foot. that these developers are saying, hey, I may as well build these buildings to a little bit better quality, higher standard with some nice finishings, and I can get $1,400 or $1,500 a square foot them. I would do the same thing for the market we've got right now. But what I'm telling you is that these units over the long term, sure, they will appreciate, but you'd be better off buying a unit, paying up a little bit more for it if you have to, in a little bit better or a lot better location. And even if you're buying these units as an investment unit, some people will say, well, I don't care, I'm not living in it anyways. I'm going to rent this thing out. Sure, you can, but I can guarantee that your tenancy turnover is going to be huge on these properties. And the reason I know is because I recently had one of my units in Crosstown come up for rent, and two of the parties that looked at my unit for rent had just moved into a couple of these buildings that were hugging up against bridges. And both of them told me the same story. They'd been in there for a month, they signed a 1-year lease, and we can't take it anymore. It's too busy and it's too difficult to get in and out of these buildings. One of them in particular, I'm not going to give you the name of it, because down the road I might end up selling one of these units, and I got to put my marketing cap on. Today I'll have no problem selling it, but if the market ever turns more balanced or eventually when it goes into a buyer's market, it's going to be a tough sell. But it only has one entrance off a one-way street, and if you miss that unmarked entrance, you've got to loop all the way back around BC Place through traffic and through about 4 traffic lights to get back around. So, and I can tell you it's a 2-lane street, it's gridlock about 15 hours out of the day. So not easy accessibility, and these problems, you don't realize them until you move into these places. And that's what happened with these two parties who were looking to rent one of my units. They basically told their landlord, I know I signed a 1-year lease, but we don't like the place, it's too noisy, too inaccessible, we're out of here. We're giving you the 30 days notice. And that's what would happen when you buy these as an investment property. Your tenancy turnover is going to be massive. You're going to be preying on people that are first-time renters. They're going to live in the thing for 1 year, and even if they are good and stick to their lease, they're out of there after the 1-year lease. So your tenancy turnover, which is going to kill you over time, is going to be non-stop. You'd be better off buying a quality unit on a little bit quieter location. It doesn't have to be on a quiet tree-lined street, but at least not hugging up against a bridge in a remnant lot that's very inaccessible. You'd be far better off ponying up a little bit more, buying quality, and keeping good long-term tenants with much lower tenancy turnover. So the bottom line on this one, folks, is I've advocated on my blog, buy your principal residence, hold it for 8 to 10 years, but don't just buy anything, especially in this ultra hot seller's market. There are some units out there right now that I honestly would not touch with a 10-foot pole. And I'm building a database now. I've probably got 15 or 20 of these buildings. I don't care what the price is. I'm not going to show my clients these buildings. The locations are terrible, and there's just better stuff out there at the same price, pretty much, or maybe a little bit more. You can get a much better, a much higher quality location. I'm Owen Bigland. As always, if you haven't joined my YouTube blog, please do. I want to thank everyone who has bought my book Along for the Ride on Amazon. I've also sold a ton of books on Amazon.com in the US, so thanks for all my US viewers as well, and thanks for everyone for giving me the nice reviews on Amazon as well. I'm Owen Bigland. See you next week.